Greetings, everyone. Plant Hag here. Hope you're staying well and safe. Today's video is going to be on several different things. I was in the process of doing my monthly orchid care, and I thought, hey, why don't I let you guys join me in what I do? I've had a lot of questions on what kind of containers I use, what fertilizer I use, what type of water I use. So with that being said, I'm going to try to answer some of those questions today. And so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to cover is containers. Containers I find are at thrift shops. Thrift shops are a good place to find containers, garage sales, even your cupboard. I think maybe possibly my favorite containers are just the good old mason jars. I like the mason jars that are smaller like this, yet they still have the wide mouth so that my roots are going to get air. And if I don't find a good mason jar, wine glasses work, which is champagne glasses work. As you can tell, I have my mini in here. She does need a little root trimming and she needs some water, but she's looking good. She's been in water culture for, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months now. And she does have some green roots coming out. So I do need to trim off some of this dead mushy. There's a little dead there, and she does need some water. So I will do that for her today. I'm going to show you how I trim the roots, and then I'm going to give her some water. But let me just tell you this. I just got to say this first. I have found that the number one killer of orchids is too much fussing with them. People tend to we pot them and then they expect them to grow like a house plant. Orchids take patience. Orchid in waterculture takes a little bit more patience. But it is fun. I love the journey. I started my journey probably 2 years ago, and I have learned so much on the way. And now I have probably 60 orchids. When I go to Lowe's, I always try to rescue the orchids because to me, it's like that in the arms of an angel. You know how they do with those dogs and cat commercials? Well, orchids are like that with me. I can't leave them. So anyways, she's in a little champagne glass. And as I said, she does have some dried roots. I'm not going to cut these dried roots because I got a funny feeling that if I just give her some water, those roots might spruce back up. So I'm going to throw her back in there. And then I'm going to give her some, oh, there it is. I'm going to give her some water. The second thing that I have found that will kill an orchid is too much cutting of the roots. You get in there like right now, I would think those roots are dead. I'm going to start chopping those roots off. No, no, no. Always give, because see, I can already see them greening up. I already see them greening up. So don't chop unless they're mushy. If they're mushy, get rid of them. Otherwise, don't chop your orchid. Don't chop the leaves off. And my other little pet peeve here, if I can just go on a small rant, knock it off with the cinnamon. What? Just, if you cut a root, just leave it alone. Put it in the vase and walk away. Patience is the main thing that an orchid needs. Not cinnamon, not hydrogen peroxide, not the knife. Patience and love and time. Okay, I'm done with my rant now. Here's another container that I got at the thrift shop. As you can tell, I still have the price tag on it. It's cracking me up. How much was it? 99 cents? What a deal. Little brandy sniffer. And she looks good. Except for that one mushy. So, like I said, that's a mushy root. I'm going to get rid of her. And I'm going to cut her right off to the bone. See that? How I cut that way off, right up to the top. And she needs some water. So, with her, I'm going to go ahead and leave her in there. But I am going to add just a smidgy more water. Now, if you notice, my crown is still above the water. That crown isn't in the water. And by crown, I mean this part right here, right where the roots connect to the plant. That's the crown. You don't want that in water. Now, I used to think that this bottom part right here, this little nub, shouldn't be in water. But I have since learned from a few people that they put their nub in water and they grow. So I stand corrected. So I just stick it right down in there. See how I did that? I snipped off that mushy root and I put her right back in her water. It's brandy sniffer water. See? And then I'm going to put her back where she was and I'm going to walk away. Okay. A couple people have asked me about Vandas. And I do grow 2 Vandas. I've managed to keep them alive. But I am in Ohio. And most of the time when you see people posting these beautiful Vandas on Facebook, they're either from Florida, Hawaii, California. They have the right atmosphere, I guess is what you call it, for Vandas. Us people, like me in Ohio, have to struggle to get that humidity even semi up. Now, I don't have a humidifier. I've been thinking about getting one, but at this time, I don't have a humidifier and I don't have a heat plate. So that's probably the 2 reasons why my Vanda, as you're going to see, looks the way it does. However, believe it or not, it looks a lot better than what it did when I first got it. Now, when I first got the Vanda, I thought that I could grow it in water culture. I'm going to go kick my dog in the head for just a minute. Ava, you need to go lay down. Go lay down. Go. Anywho, sorry about that. When I first got my Vanda, I thought it would work in water culture. I mean, when I saw it growing in the nursery, the very tips of its roots were in like a garden tray. So I thought, you know what? I can do that as well. I since found out I was wrong. Even though Vandas like their tips of their roots to be wet or in water, they basically, the rest of them like air. They like air more than they like water. So I have learned that I should dunk my Vanda once a week in a bucket of water, and then I spritz its roots every day. And that brings me to fertilizer. This is what I use for my Vandas and my orchids if I fertilize. I don't fertilize a lot with my orchids. A lot of people that do water culture don't fertilize. They don't worry about it. For some reason, the water gives the orchid enough of its nutrients that it needs. But if I do fertilize, I do use this. It's called Easy Weed, and it's got sea kelp. Woo! It's got sea kelp in it. So what I do is, and this lasts forever. It's a little expensive. Now let me go on a rant about fertilizer. When you do use fertilizer, make sure it's an organic fertilizer. Don't buy that Miracle Grow, Jobs, whatever it's called. That's all synthetic fertilizer. And sure, it's going to boost your plants for the first, 6 months of its life. But after that, your plant's going to start hating you. It's going to do funky things to the roots. So I'm sorry, Miracle Grow. I'm giving you a thumbs down. But the Easy Weed is great. Like I said, it's a seaweed supplement. And for some reason, my orchid roots really like this stuff. So with that being said, I have mixed this up in a 5-gallon bucket. Here's my bucket, see? And let me show you now don't laugh. Let me show you my Vanda. I put my Vanda in one of these baskets. And I hang her from an east window. And then, like I said, I mist her roots every day. Has she bloomed for me? No. Whoa! Maybe that's why, for heaven's sakes. But as you can tell, all of her roots look really brown. There's lots of brown in there. But you know what? I'm going to dunk her, and you'll be amazed by how much her roots go back. So let me get her back in there. And what I do is I just throw her in this 5-gallon bucket, and I let her soak for, I don't know, about 2 hours. But before this video is over, I'll go ahead and pull her out so that you can see how green her roots have gotten. And I have 2 of them, and they both look really sad right now because I lost a lot of roots trying to do water culture. But like I said, I'm not going to feel too bad because I don't live in Ohio or in Florida. I live in Ohio, and I am never going to get the conditions right for this Vanda. I might try throwing her outside underneath the trees, which is where they grow them in nature in Florida. Those things you see hanging from the tree, oh, gorgeous. Anywho, all right, let's move on from the Vanda for right now. Containers. Anything that you can find at a thrift shop works. Personally, I like the mason jars. Here's another mason jar. I just try to make sure that it's nice and round on top. Here's a vase that is my least favorite vase, just for the simple fact that it comes in, even though it still has a nice wide opening. And I'm not going to be concerned too much with that right now, because number 2 tip on orchid growing, they don't like stagnant air. If you can get some kind of oscillating fan that just blows on them 24/7, they will love you. Because like I said, the roots of orchids like air just as much as they like water. And that was a tip that I had learned probably a year ago, and it really has helped my orchids. Now this little guy here, I saved him and I can't get out to the thrift shops right now for obvious reasons. So I'm really running out of options on what to put her in. She was in bloom when I got her. And she doesn't mind it in there because, like I said, I'm getting some nice new green roots. There's a leaf there. Notice, yep, she finally gave it up. There's a yellow root, which is fine because it's not mushy. There's no mushy. I mean, those are good, solid, healthy roots. But I don't like how far down she is in that vase. So I am going to put her in another vase. And I'm thinking that my little mason jar is going to be perfect for her. And it is. Look, she's even got a little air root that I can use to prop her up with. There you go. There you go. She's perfect in there. I love her. And just a little bit of water. Remember, you don't want all your roots in water, just about 1/3 of them. Okay, this is the orchid, and if you've watched my other videos, she, I believe, is the one that I had repotted or used as my stress orchid. I don't know. But I'm bringing her out now. I haven't looked at her for about a month, and I probably should have looked at her sooner. As you can tell, she has hardly any roots. She does have a nice green firm root there, and she's got a good firm root there. I'm not cutting nothing today. All right, I lied. I am going to cut that shriveled root right there. Okay, but since she's really struggling, I do see maybe a nice little nubbins there coming out, but she is struggling. So unfortunately, that bloom has got to go, and I just cut it as close to the stem as I can, or crown. And sometimes those little boogers are hard. There you go. There you go. Hopefully, I really don't want that spike to grow back. What I want now is for her to use some energy to grow new roots. She's not as dehydrated as I thought she'd be, but she's still pretty floppy. You know what? And then what I do with the orchids, I just put them in a nice little vase so that I can still enjoy their blooms. Okay, but with her, seeing as how she's so stressed out, I really want to, I'm going to put her in leca instead of water culture. And the leca is, if you don't know, are these little clay balls that I use on a lot of my orchids that I don't use in water culture. You can get these on Amazon. Now these have been rinsed and have been soaking for about an hour. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe use this cute little mason jar here. Yeah, because see, I want that crown to be up. I want those air roots to be able to get to the water, but I want to encourage new roots as well. So with that, she's going right into leca. Now, I'll put a little bit more in there. And then you just kind of stick her in there. The last thing you want is leca in your garbage disposal. It gets everywhere. That's the one detriment to leca. No matter how hard you try to make sure you get all those balls in there, one always escapes and rolls across the floor. Always. Always. See? Okay. I just kind of pound it down in there. There you go. Look at that. That one root is greening up already. See that? I didn't put that down because I think that was wanting to be an air root. And then the water level is about right there. You see that? Her crown is still out. Actually, I'm going to lift her up just a little bit more. Maybe. A little more leak in there. Oh, now I've done it. I want the crown to be out, but I also want it stabilized. The reason why I like the leca better than the bark is because I can still see the roots growing in this thing. And I think that if you grew it in bark in this glass jar, the bark is going to hold too much water and eventually your orchid's going to rot. And if you have it planted in bark or sphagnum moss in a regular slotted orchid pot like my Vandas are in, you can't see what's going on with the roots. So this way I can kind of still see what's going on with the roots through the leca once it gets roots. So again, I'm going to throw her over here and I'm not going to touch her for about 2 weeks. Now this one was in this vase right here, the one I put my flower in, because again, I can't get to the thrift shop and I can't find vases right now. So I'm using whatever I can find. I didn't like it. The one root did go down into the water like that, but you can tell it's mushy and it's dry all the way up here. So I'm going to cut off that mushy part right now. That was not a good root at all. That's disappointing. But I do see, and here's a little brown shriveled root. Once you get growing orchids and in water culture, you'll be able to tell more easily what's a good root and what isn't. And that one I know is not a good root, so I'm taking it off. Now the rest of these, if you see, they're not mushy, they're nice and hard. I think with a good soak, she's going to come back, but I don't want to put her back in here. I am going to go ahead and put her back in water culture, but I'm just not going to put her back in this vase because if you can see, well, number one, she just, I don't know. I'm thinking here. I might put her back in that vase. Let me see. I was thinking that she might look better or go better in here. But I think she's going to be too low down. See where she is there? See? No, I think I do like that vase. For now. And I like it because the roots are up against the side of the vase, so it makes them feel kind of secure. Same way as a house plant doesn't like to be in too big of a pot. Roots start going, what the heck? So I'm going to pour this water over those roots and let you see that they are already starting to green up. See? So that's why I say don't cut them unless they're mushy. Don't pay attention to what the color is, because even if you think they're brown and dead, they're not brown and dead. They're trying to fool you. So with her, I'm going to give her that much water. See that? Because she needs water. Her leaves are a little floppy. So I'm going to let just the tip of her in water. But the crown has still got plenty of room for airflow. See? And I'm going to walk away. I'll come back to her again at another time. And if I don't see really good improvement, I'll go ahead and put her in Lika. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave her where she is. All right, now this one is one that I have used fertilizer for. I fertilized her a couple days ago. I usually put the fertilizer in. I just mix it up regularly, and then I put it in my little water thing, and I just add it as much as, you know, I need to. And then I let it sit for a couple days, and then I go back and I dump it out. And I give the roots a good rinsing, because sometimes they don't like to sit in that. Okay, so again, I'm going to trim. That's a bad one. I'm going to take a good look at her crown. And what I'm looking for is any kind of dirt or maybe sphagnum moss that I might have missed when I transferred her. But all in all, she's looking quite nice. She's got some really good roots on her. All are very healthy. And she was in, wasn't she? Yeah, this one. And I think I'm going to keep her in this one. She seems to like it, but I am going to add just a little bit more water to her because her roots are a little floppy. Now, you know, they say only have the tips of the roots in water. Some of my orchids like that, some of them don't. Some of them like to be, you know, all the way up. You're just going to have to like experiment with your own orchid. Just make sure that this crown part isn't always in water. And if it does get wet, make sure that it gets dried out. Like I said, I have a oscillating fan by my orchids, and that really does help. So again, I'm going to just throw her back in the water, and I'm going to move on and walk away. I'll come back to her. Now this one is another type of orchid. And I cannot remember the name. but it gets these little foxtail looking, little fuzzy foxtail flowers. As you notice that I have her in Lika. I tried mounting her, but mounting her on a piece of wood with sphagnum moss, but I just don't really, because I really had to mist her good every day and soak her. And I just don't have time for that. So I have her in Lika, and her water, if you can see, is right about there. And I will let that go down to probably right about there before I fill it back up with water. This type of orchid does not like to be in water culture. It's too wet, but it does like water. So, like I said, I just throw her in there, and I will fill it up to water to about there. And then once that evaporates down to about there, I fill it back up again. Again, sometimes I fertilize her, sometimes I don't. If I do fertilize her, I will fill her up with the fertilized water, let it sit for a couple days, and then I just drain her out. So, like I said, I can't remember the name of this orchid, but it is an orchid. It's not just grass. Here is another orchid that I am growing in Lika. Again, can't remember the name of her. I just got her maybe a week ago. She looks like she's doing pretty well. She's got some nice roots coming. Her roots look good and healthy. Again, I do the same thing with her, is I fill her up to about there with water, and then when it evaporates to about down there, I'll fill her up again. So she does kind of get a dry cycle and a wet cycle when I'm growing in Lika, because when these balls do dry out, they're not like bark. They don't hold the water. Okay. Here is another type of orchid that I have. I wish I can remember the names, but I really can't. Again, I have her in Lika. And I do the same thing. I let it go down, and then I fill it up. Let it go down, fill up. She's got some nice little babies coming out here, which is cool. And she will get these tiny, tiny little flowers that come up between the little leaves. So I have branched out in my orchids from just buying phals. I like kind of experimenting with the different ones. They're kind of fun. Now this little orchid here, I wanted to show you. He was in my video on what to do with stressed orchids. And he had been in water culture. And on that video, I decided that he did not like water culture. And I was going to go ahead and transfer him to Lika. So my bottom leaves are still pretty limp. And I'm going to go ahead and lose those. I know I will. But I know they're looking, a little bad. But I don't want to cut anything that I can avoid. But I will cut off that little brown spot. But I wanted to show him to you because he really has perked up quite a lot since I transferred him over to Lika. The leaves are nice and hydrated. And I'm going to go ahead and pull him out because I want to see if there's been anything happening on his roots. So with that, I just take him out and look at there. Looky there. I have a new root. You see him? Right there. And now there are some brown stringies. I cut those off. They don't do anything for the plant, but they do introduce bacteria, and you don't want that. So I'm going to trim as much of those off as I can. There we go. So he does look like he's happier in water culture. So again, I'm just going to throw him back in there. He's still looking sad. Don't get me wrong. There is a chance that I still might lose him. Oh, here's my kitty. This is Miss Little One. She's come up to see what's the buzz. Okay, Miss Kitty. We'll see you later now. All right, there she goes. But like I said, she's been in the Lika for probably 2 weeks, maybe 3. And I'm liking her progress, so I'm going to keep her in there. Now, when I have them in water culture or the orchids, some like my phals, I don't fill that up all the way with water. Not for the phals. I still only have it about 1/3 down there. That way the roots can grow down and start reaching. The other ones like a little bit more water, so that's what I do. All right, here are some more containers that I use. I wanted to show you them. Like I said, I've showed you this one. The main thing that I look for are nice round openings. I don't really want anything constrictive up here like a bud vase or something that's going to constrict that top. You want as much air to be able to get to your roots as possible. This one is a really cool one. She's a nice leaded cut glass one. And she, again, would work awesome. Even though she's got that constriction right there, she's still got a nice round open mouth. Okay, I want to quickly move on here. Here's another one. I have her in a square vase. She looks very good. She does have some mushy. So again, I'm going to trim some of those mushies off. This brown part, I'm going to put back in water, and hopefully she'll bounce back. I think she will. She needs some water. So this vase, I don't think I like for her. So I'm going to quickly trim off these mushies. She's been in water culture not long, I want to say. I think I just rescued her. Now see all these brown, they're hollow. Those can go. You can trim those off. And that's all she's got there, isn't it? No, she just got some. This one right here is questionable, but it's still green on the end, so I'm going to leave her. This one is really brown and shriveled. If they're hard, leave them. If they're papery thin and shriveled, and you can pinch them, get rid of them. It's just rotten in your water. That's all it is. It's just rotten in your water. Okay, since I've given her a good haircut, I do see some really good roots that she's got growing there. And as you notice, she is flowering. So now I have to make the decision. Is she growing good enough roots to leave those flowers on? Or do I want to cut them so I can encourage some really good, healthy roots growing? And I think today I'm going to leave her. I'm going to leave her for just a little longer because I like how those air roots are coming out. So I'm going to leave her, but I'm not going to put her back in that type of vase. I'm going to try to find her another type of vase. And when you go vase shopping, you just got to keep going, keep looking until you find the perfect one. It's like buying a house, you know. You want the perfect one for her. And I think I like that one because, you know, she's not top heavy, and she's going to stay. She's not going to flip out of there. So we're going to go with that one. Whoa, and then I'm going to add quite a bit of water to her. Now, let's talk about water. I don't use distilled water. I don't use filtered water. I don't use smart water. I use water out of the tap that's been in a bucket that's sat out overnight. If I don't have any of that available because I forgot to fill up my bucket, I'll just use regular tap water. I ain't proud. And they really don't seem to mind at all. Really, they don't. So I just filled her up with some water, and like I said, I'm going to put her back. I don't want to do anything to her. Now these I want to just go over real quick. This is a celery holder. Okay, say hi, Miss Little One. There you go. Yeah. This is a Catalia, whatever, however you pronounce it. I have her in a old celery glass, which is really cool. It's nice and heavy. And if you notice, I have her in water culture. And the Catalias do like to have most of their roots submerged, unlike a fowl. But right now I haven't checked her in a while. So I'm checking her, make sure there's no mushy, and she looks good. And look at there, she's got some new root growth coming. So I'm going to throw her back in there. But I did want to get rid of this. That's driving me. And I'm going to throw her back in her vase. Notice how I don't dump out that water. I just leave that water. I figured that's like going into somebody else's house and cleaning it. You know what I mean? This is water she's become accustomed to. So all I do is I just add more. There you go. I topped her off. Hey, that's all you do with her. All right, I think that might be. Oh wait, there was one more that I wanted to show you because I'm not liking this vase either. See how she's way far down there, and I think the only saving grace to this one is that I do have that fan. Otherwise, I think that she's too far down there to get a nice circulation to her roots. Now, she has been in water culture, I'm going to say a couple months. And she loves it. Look at that. Do you see all those roots? And there's not a mushy one in there. None of them are mushy. She is loving life. But her one little spike is dead. So I want to talk a little bit about spikes. Notice how I'm going to leave this other spike too, because obviously she has some great roots. So I don't need to cut off that spike. She's doing awesome. But this one right here is all brown. Now if this spike was green, say like this one, let's say it flowered and then all its flowers dropped off, but the stem is still green, I wouldn't cut it because 9 chances out of 10 you might get more blooms out of this green stalk. So don't cut your stalks unless they are brown. And once they're brown, that means they're done. They're done. So you can cut it off. And I think I'm going to try this vase right here, because I think she would look beautiful in there. And she's snug enough. And there's going to be good airflow to her top. See, her top's right there. See? And then I'm going to fill her up with some water. Notice how I'm using tap water. And she seems to like to have a little more water in her. So I like that. I mean, if she wants more water, who am I to say? So I do fill her up to about there. But again, her crown is still out of the water. There's nice area right there for airflow. Now, before I go, I wanted to check back on these Vandas. They do need to soak just a little bit longer. But if you can tell from soaking that the roots have started to green up already. And like I said, I soak it for about 2 hours. It is also near my fan. And I have some of this Easy Weed in another separate spray bottle, and I spray their roots with it every day. Every day. Vandas like air and humidity. That's what Vandas like. They like air more than they like water. So that's kind of crazy. But that is all I got today. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions on orchids, please contact me and I'll be glad to help you. Other than that, have a great day, stay safe, and happy growing.